Hi everybody, it's Renee. I'm here to help you now fill out your project summary book. So if you head back to our website on the 4-H Youth tab page, look for 4-H year end and scroll on down. 3 things you're going to be looking for: the project summary book, the directions for it, and the organizational worksheet. So you click on the project summary book. This is the document itself. So when we say that we want your summary book or your project summary book, this is what we're referring to. And it's a 26-page book. You print it out just once. Every year that the child is in 4-H, you add to it. So it becomes a really impressive document as years progress in 4-H. A lot of teens will use this when they're applying for a job or college or a scholarship of some kind, because it contains all their extracurricular 4-H activities. It includes community service information. It includes trips and, honors and recognition. There's different sections for all that information. So this becomes a really, really impressive document the more kids add to it every year. So again, you're going to need to print this out just once. Hold on to it, because it breaks my heart when I hear that a child who's 17 or 18 and been in 4-H for 10 years can't find their summary book. So definitely keep it in a safe space. Then you're going to need directions for it. These are the written directions. It breaks it down by section, gives you a description of what kind of information we're looking for in that section, and then some examples of what you might list for those different sections. And then finally, to help you get started, because it's a very overwhelming document when you just page through it 1 page at a time. So before you even do that, I really recommend using this organizational worksheet. It breaks it down into the 9 different sections that are in, but it's all on 1 page. And now you can just sit down with this document and start thinking about, what have I done in 4-H this year? And start plotting those things in the different boxes. What kind of public speaking have you done? What kind of projects have you been working through? Did you do any fair exhibits this year? What were those? So just start jotting down. You don't have to put a lot of detail into this. It's just to get your ideas onto some paper. So here is an example of what that might look like. If you're in a position where you're trying to catch up because you've been in 4-H for 3 years now and you haven't filled out the project summary book, I recommend printing up one of these for each year and go back and try to remember as much as you can to add to it. And don't feel bad, this happens all the time. It happened to me and my own son. He was in 4-H for 3 years before we filled out the project summary book. We went back, we added as much as we could remember. I'm sure there are things we forgot, but it still helped capture those years in 4-H. Understand that when the advisory committee does review project summary books and the trip applications, for a trip, they're only looking at this current year in 4-H. So that's the one you really want to focus on. If you're applying for a project pin, they do look at this year plus last year's project area information, as well as fair exhibits. So in the project pin section, you do want to try to be as thorough as you can between this year and last year. If you're stretching back 3 or more years trying to add in, don't get too hung up on the fine details. And as you remember things, you can always go back and add them in. Okay, so once you have that organizational worksheet filled out, you're ready to just start taking this information and plotting it into your project summary book. It's all in order. One section goes right into the next. So for public speaking, it looks like I've listed 1, 2, 3, 4 different things. So I'm going to add the 2020 year here and list my first one. So the public presentation, did it on your rabbit, did it at county and districts, and I could include ribbon colors awards here. Then you would add another line for 2020, international night. What you talked about, I learned about Japan. So I'm going to give a little description on, I gave a speech about Japan. And then you would add another one. This one was about your trip to Cornell, but it was just given to your club. So you came back and gave a little presentation about what the career exploration trip was that you went on, like that. Please notice that every section of your project summary book does include some examples. These are meant to help you figure out how to lay out the information that you're trying to share. That's really important for project section in particular. This is the area that most often people make mistakes on. Remember, the project refers to extended learning. It's not a single activity, but it's multiple things you learned in that project area. So the examples here, food and nutrition is your project name. And you're gonna just very briefly list out all the things that you learned about in the project area that year. So the example here is basic baking techniques, measuring dry and wet ingredients, how to cream butter and sugar, cold and dry ingredients, and that you made 6 different recipes. For my project areas this year, food and nutrition, so I would add that in. 2020, food and nutrition here. Really focused on baking breads, yeast breads, quick breads. Learned how to proof yeast and let things rise and the kind of temperatures that are important in that. And you baked 3 kinds of bread. You can add 2020 for photography. Each project area should have its own section. Okay, so you're going to use that organizational worksheet to go into each of the sections of the project summary book, and that's where you're going to add your additional details. Remember, the organizational worksheet, you were just trying to get out very quickly, bullet points. But the project summary book, you do want to expand on and use the examples that are on each page to help you understand what level of detail we're looking for with that. All right, so that's your project summary book in a nutshell. Good luck, and if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out.